coming up on the 70% podcast.
I fall on the side of critical race theory needs to be taught. It needs to be taught in the classroom. People need to understand how this country was formed.
A lot of us are just like, wait a second, we're going about this the wrong way. There's not going to be equality. We're just going to keep going back in this freaking pendulum, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And there's never going to be an equal ground, and none of us are ever going to be happy.
Is that there are a lot of black people out there playing victim.
Yes.
They're accepting the fact that critical race theory is teaching them to be victims. They're saying you're behind the 8 ball and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And that's just not true.
The 70% podcast with your host, Amy Alexander and Mike Sewell.
Welcome, everybody, to the 70%. I'm Amy Alexander.
And I'm Mike Sewell.
And here today we are talking about race relations. Critical race theory. And just the conversation. We're having the courageous conversation that we both think that everybody needs to have civilly so that we can figure some shit out, basically.
Right. And that's the reason for the show, the 70% Club. So we believe that there's at least 70% of the people in the United States are able to have these conversations and still be friends or acquaintances afterwards. Right. They don't hate each other.
Right. But the noise is coming from the 15% on the right and the 15% on the left that are fucking insane and just throwing insults at each other and doing whatever. And they're lost causes. You're never gonna, I've tried to talk extreme right conservatives into seeing the middle ground, and I've tried to talk liberals into seeing the middle ground. And
the extreme liberals.
The extreme level. Right. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Yep.
Even though I think they're... No.
Careful.
Careful. I know, right? But I've been talking about all this stuff for a very long time.
Yeah. I mean, you and I have been talking about it for a long time.
For a long time.
And that's why we decided to do this.
Yeah, because we just were like, let's talk. Why don't we record this when we talk about it?
Yeah.
But
because we feel that there are other people out there who feel the same way, and we're not being heard.
No.
We're not being able to get together collectively to make the changes in Washington or even on the local level, that we need to do in order to get these, what do you call them? Asshats?
Oh, yeah, that's one of my favorites. Asshats, dickwads, jackwagons. I mean...
out of office so that we could get the people in there that truly care about the American people.
Right. And that can actually do something and aren't worried about just lining their pockets so that the money that we spend to help situations that we may have in our country is actually spent on improving it and not just improving, I just bought John Kerry another yacht last year. Yay. Crap like that. Mike and I have known each other for going on 2 decades. We've always been able to have very honest conversations with each other from the perspective of race, especially. Him as a black man and me as a white woman. We've really hashed out a lot of things. Of course, we haven't solved the world's problems, but we help each other see it from the other side. And I think that's what's lacking in our community right now, in our collective community, because there are too many people fighting back and forth and too many media powerful people trying to divide us, and they're using race as the division.
Exactly. Well, race, finances. What were your 3 pillars? Was it 3 or 4 pillars?
Yeah, race, wealth, and political affiliation.
There you go. Race, wealth, and a political affiliation.
Yep.
Those are the 3 things that they're using to divide us.
Yep.
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis.
In the media, with the Republicans or Democrats or yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the media is very much more apt to show, Kim Kardashian doing nothing but making a zillion dollars. But yeah, so our purpose is to bring the conversation together and bring people into it without fighting with each other, without name calling, without all of that stuff, to see if we can figure out a way to get ourselves out of this shit.
Exactly. Well, see, here's the thing. In America, one of the things that is great about America is that we're able to vote people out of office. We're able to vote, period. And with that power, we can get the people that are in office who are not actively working for the American people out of office. But the only way to do that is to come together collectively to be able to do that.
Right.
Now, do you and I know today specifically who we should have in office besides the people that are there currently? No.
Anybody besides the people that are there currently.
But that's something that we can work on as we move forward.
Right.
So
and
the first thing that we need to do is be able to have these courageous conversations. One of the things that you and I were talking about earlier this week, and one of the things that's in the media right now, is critical race theory. And that's a hot button.
Yep, CRT.
So why don't we get into that?
Yeah. Okay. So
let's explain critical race theory first.
Let's explain it from each of our perspectives.
Well, I mean, let's give the textbook definition of critical race theory.
Textbook definition is officially organized in 1989 at the first annual workshop on critical race theory through its intellectual origins. Go back much further, though I'm not very good at reading. Besides, it needs to be that far away.
What it reads here in the Britannica is that critical race theory was officially organized in 1989 at the first annual workshop on critical race theory, though its intellectual origins go back much further to the 1960s and 70s. Its immediate precursor was the critical legal studies. So the movement, which dedicated itself to examining how the law and the legal institutions serve the interests of the wealthy and powerful at the expense of the poor and marginalized. So that's the textbook definition.
Right. Does it mention Richard Delgado and Gene Stefancic?
Yeah, that's who did the study.
Okay.
And as it goes on, it goes into that.
Yeah, and I happen to have that study or the introduction to critical race theory in front of me. It's a 47-page guide. I don't know.
Right, and we're not going to read all 47.
No. I'm not going to read all 47 pages. But it's the introduction to critical race theory. So if you're out there and you're like, this is bullshit, or I don't know, where this came from, or whatever, pick this up. I got this free off this thing called the internet, and it's called Critical Race Theory and an Introduction, and it's written by Richard Delgado and Gene Stefancic.
Right. So you pick that up and read it so that you can be part of the conversation. So here's the deal. So what's in the news today, or what's in the media today, and the division that's going on today, is there are states who are outlawing the teachers being able to
the teachings of critical race theory,
being able to teach that in the classrooms. Okay, so they're outlawing the fact that teachers have been teaching this for years, and they're saying no, we can no longer teach that in the classrooms. Okay, so that's the big to do today. So you have Republicans who are saying nope, this is not good, we're not going to teach this anymore, and we're going to put laws in place so that doesn't happen. And then we have Democrats or liberals or whatever that's saying, no, we're still going to teach this no matter what you say. Okay? I fall on the side of critical race theory needs to be taught. It needs to be taught in the classroom. People need to understand how this country was formed.
Okay. Do you believe critical race theory is the only theory out there?
Okay, explain that.
So do you feel that because the argument is there is critical race theory and there's other teachings, why are we being so specific to this when it's a theory? Plus, critical race theory actually stems from Marxists. Yeah, there's a lot of Marxist leanings with the whole situation. To me, critical race theory is, and I've talked to a lot of people about this since we started talking, brought it up a few months ago, and I've been paying attention. To me, as a white person, this is being, shoved down the throats of our kids and whatever. To me, it is the exact opposite of us teaching white history before. It is looking at the world from the eyes of a black person, from a black person's opinion, which means white people are evil.
Okay, so you're saying telling the truth is saying that white people are evil.
So you think critical race theory is 100% truth?
Well, isn't it true that white people took the land from the Indians, and isn't it also true that white people enslaved black people here in America? Isn't that true?
They enslaved them everywhere in the world, and
we're not talking about the world, though. We're talking about here in America. We're talking about the United States. So let's keep the focus on the United States, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about solving or trying to begin to solve the problems here in the U.S.
Right.
So let's talk about what happened here in the U.S. and what's happening today here in the U.S.
And where, from your perspective, the information you're getting about what's happened in the U.S. comes from where?
It comes from history. It comes from the history of what happened in the U.S. So the U.S. was white people came to the United States, and they took the land from the Indians. And after they took the land from the Indians, they gave them this little portion of land and said, here, you can have this portion of land, but you can't have any of this, and do whatever you want over here. And, and then sometime after that, they brought black people over on boats as slaves and enslaved them and helped them to build the economy and build, or the black people helped them to do these things, and they enslaved them for many years. And then after the enslavement came the Jim Crow era, and after the Jim Crow era came all the different laws, the redlining and things of that nature. So these are things, the history. So critical race theory is teaching the history of what has happened here in America. And what I fail to understand is, why is that wrong? Why is it wrong to teach the facts?
It can't be because that is, this show is about seeing things from two different perspectives.
Right. And my perspective is that these are the facts.
Right.
So why are we not
my
able
perspective
to teach the
is
facts?
Here are the facts. So here's my perspective from what I know and observed and learned in my history. So, back then in the Renaissance era or whatever, people were assholes, men were sick pigs, and women were slaves to them, basically. And so were black people. And they came to the Americas for trading and whatever, because that's expansion of business. That's entrepreneurship. That's whatever. The Queen of freaking England, who knows, sent a ship out to go find more spices, whatever the deal is. Yes, Americans came, or they came to America.
Who's they?
They, like the original explorers and stuff. I really don't.
So Anglo-Saxons.
Right. I don't really
white
think.
People.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that I believe Christopher Columbus actually discovered America, but whatever.
We know that was America Vespucci, but that's a whole nother subject.
Right. And so then people started coming here, but slavery was a thing in the world before people came to the United States.
What does that have to do with critical race theory here in the United States? That has absolutely nothing to do with the conversation.
Yes, it does, because critical race theory blames, or I shouldn't say blames, critical race theory portrays the current white community as being the problem with things that happened centuries ago.
I disagree.
Okay.
Here's the reason why I disagree.
Okay.
I think that white people today are afraid. They're afraid of losing their stature, their power, and they don't want to give it up. So let me take you back to a study that I heard about. So a friend of mine, a good friend of mine who's a professor, was talking to me about this study where they had children in the classroom, and the teacher in the classroom would yell, and this is going to be a little bit long, so just bear with me, okay? So the teacher in the classroom would yell at the little boy in the back of the classroom to, if he was acting up or being silly or whatever the case may be, hey, Tommy, sit down, relax, stop doing that. But if it was a little girl that was doing that, she would actually, or he would actually walk up to the student and say, hey, Jill, relax, take it easy, okay? So it was a proximity thing, okay, where the boy in the classroom was given more attention than the girl was. So bear with me here. I'm gonna bring this home. So the study was okay. So they took all the kids in the classroom and said, so who do you think the teacher likes the most? Do you think that she likes the boys the most, or do you think she likes the girls the most? And everybody in the classroom, boys and girls both, said that that he or she, the teacher, whatever, liked them equally. Okay. And then so what they did for the study was they told the teacher, said, okay, well, treat them all the same. So if the little girl's acting up in the back, or if the little boy is acting up in the back, or if you're going to give them praise, give them the same amount of praise. Okay. So the little girl's acting up in the back. The teacher says, hey, Jill, sit down, just as loud and boisterous as she would say to the little boy. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then she said the same thing with the praise. So she gave a lot of praise. And I keep saying she as a teacher, and please forgive me, because teachers could be male or female or whatever the case may be. I don't want anybody calling and yelling at me about that.
Yeah.
But right. So the teacher, male or female, would treat each student the same. So in this study, after they took the kids out of the classroom, they said, okay, so who do you think the teacher likes best now? And everybody in the classroom said that when she was giving them equal attention and giving them equal praise, or the teacher was giving them equal attention or equal praise, they all agreed that the teacher liked the boys better. Okay. So here's the point. Okay. The point is that little boys in our culture, okay, little boys have been given more attention and given more praise than little girls have been given. Okay. So, and white men have been given more attention in America and more praise in America than people of color. And so now that that's being taken away from them, they think they're being treated unfairly. And that is not the case. They're not being treated unfairly. What we're doing is highlighting the fact that these things are happening in America. No one is saying that it's the fault of the white people today.
Yes, that's absolutely what they're saying.
That is not what they're saying. That is not what critical race theory says.
But that's what they're teaching kids. So I've talked to quite a few millennials. I talked to, Gen Zs. How do you feel about what they're trying to teach in school and whatever? Because when I was in school, there were like a couple of Asian kids, a couple of black kids. I don't even remember. I don't know. I'm not, sure. Whatever. Mm-hmm. But now it's very much much more diverse. In fact, the United States is the diversest country.
The most diverse.
The most diverse?
Yeah.
I think diverse should be a word. Anyway.
We'll add it.
Yeah, let's just, hey, Britannica. Anyway.
We'll put that in the Urban Dictionary.
Yes. So where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. No, I think they are portraying it as being all white men are evil. They're to blame for everything. And now when you tell that to a kid from the time he's 8 years old to the time he's 18 years old, what is he going to think?
That's not what's being said, though, Amy. What's being said is that white people have come to America. They stole the land from the Indians. They brought slaves over here to cultivate the land and to build wealth for themselves, and then took that wealth and put laws into place to still hold people of color back from earning the same type of wealth and success that they have seen.
So no slaves were released back in the the Emancipation era with Lincoln.
1969 or whatever. 65 I believe it was. 1865, excuse me.
Two different.
Yep.
So no slaves were released and given any land.
Yes. Okay, so here's the deal. So the slaves were released, they were given land, but then you had things like the KKK coming and burning down like Black Wall Street. Have you ever heard of that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so burning down places like Black Wall Street and taking land and power and stuff like that from black people. Black people were doing extremely well, especially in the Jim Crow era, and then things were being taken away from them, and then redlining was being done and stuff like that. So there are laws in place.
Why didn't you guys fight against that?
So it's our fault.
No, I'm not saying it's your fault.
Okay.
I'm saying that if that's still going on, or if that was happening, then
Martin Luther King tried to fight against it, and you see what happened to him, right? He was murdered.
Right.
Okay.
I get that.
So it wasn't like people weren't fighting. People were fighting for those rights, those inherent rights that most human beings want. So here's the thing. We're here today, right? Mm-hmm. This is 2021. Mm-hmm. Is it your fault as a white person or any white man that's walking this earth today, most white men that are walking this earth today, is it their, in the United States, is it their fault that these things have happened?
Some of them, I would say, but not. No,
let's say 90% of them. 90% of the white males and women in the United States, mm-hmm. Is it really their fault that these things have happened?
No.
In the past?
Not directly.
You're right. Exactly. It's not their fault. The problem, in my opinion, lies in the fact that white people do not want to recognize, instead of saying, you know what, yeah, these things have happened. Yes, critical race theory is a thing that actually happened, or that has been happening. Yes, inherently we have laws that are kind of racist and stuff like that, and we collectively, all of us, need to do something about that. Mm-hmm. Instead of doing that, they're saying, I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
No, I think that the problem,
everybody's acting like shady.
And that's your perspective from, that's a black perspective, right. Definitely. And here's my white perspective. There are a lot of white people that feel that they can never do enough to make the black community happy, and that we're just going to, it's just going to keep going in circles. And then of course there are about 15% of white people that are totally fucking racist and whatever, but we don't care about them.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think, in my opinion, a lot of white people that are paying attention to all this and see how the government is now forcing things down our throats, that they feel like it's not, the point isn't equality. The point is to basically, and it's not that anybody I don't want to, most of us, I would say 70% of us believe in equality, but the way we're going about it, with us giving money to poor communities through the government, for one, that gets nowhere. And then for us, in school, when you teach critical race theory, you're teaching kids that they are worthless, basically, and that they are responsible for generations of people being oppressed. And so you can have a battle between the oppressed and the so-called oppressors, but that battle never seems to be to get on equal footing. It always seems to be to win. And it's not that, well, of course nobody likes to lose, right? But a lot of us are just like, wait a second, we're going about this the wrong way. There's not going to be equality. We're just going to keep going back in this freaking pendulum, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And there's never going to be an equal ground, and none of us are ever going to be happy. And while we're fighting over all this, while they're making us all freaking pissed off at each other about race, wealth, and political affiliation, they're over there getting whatever they're getting from the Saudis, leaving our troops behind. So many other things that if we could just figure out a way to make sure that we understand getting past this part, we could get back to this part if we can fix all the other bullshit that's going on.
Okay, so excuse me. Here's my opinion. Okay, in my opinion, I think there's a lot of white people out there that are scared to have this conversation. They're scared to admit the fact that their ancestors have done a lot of wrong. And that we need to clean that up today. The inverse to that, in my opinion, is that there are a lot of black people out there playing victim.
Yes.
They're accepting the fact that critical race theory is teaching them to be victims. They're saying, you're behind the 8 ball and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And that's just not true.
Right.
Okay? So that right there is keeping the divide, in my opinion. Okay? So what I think we need to do is, first off, I think critical race theory is absolutely something that needs to be taught in schools and all the time. We need to tell the truth about what happened in America.
Have you sat in a classroom?
I've gone through critical race theory classes and stuff like that. I never felt that's what they were teaching. To hate white people. I've never felt that way. I actually talked to my daughter about it.
Okay.
And you don't think she's 16 years old.
What was the reaction of the white people that were in your class?
They didn't seem to be upset about it. They weren't. And here's the thing. So I'm in the classroom, big black guy. Okay, 6'2",
large
guy.
Primate. Yeah, with little ears.
Primate.
You said
careful.
Primate.
I said that.
You said
I
primate.
can say that. You can't say.
What? See, what the fuck? Is this what critical race theory is teaching us? Oh, yeah.
No.
Okay.
You and I are sitting here joking and having a good time with this. There's somebody out there that's going to get offended by that. And I'm going to tell you now, do not get offended by that. Amy and I have gone back a long time. She's a great friend of mine, and I know she was just teasing me because that's something that I said, and she just brought that back up. So that's something that came out of my mouth, and she brought it back up. So we're going to clear that up right away.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I don't want people calling in or texting.
Oh, yeah, I didn't.
Amy is such a racist. She called him a primate.
I didn't even think.
Those were my words, and
yeah.
you used that because we were joking around earlier. Okay,
right.
So anyway.
And then, as a big black guy.
Right. So I'm in the classroom. I don't think that people in the classroom are going to be as openly boisterous about how they feel about that subject as if I was, if there were no black people or people of color in the classroom at all. So at the time I was in the classroom learning about critical race theory, no, I don't believe that anybody had a problem with it. Did they have a problem? I have no idea. Were they hiding the fact that they had a problem with it? I have no idea. It could be.
I think a lot of white people don't say much because being racist is the worst thing that you can do. And you could say the N-word 30 years ago and they're just, you lose your job or whatever. There's such, there's so many people
You're
that
canceled today if you say the N-word.
Yeah, you can say it though.
I can say it all day long, every day, twice a day.
And it's not offensive to anybody?
4 times on Sunday.
4 times on Sunday?
Yep. Yeah. God's day.
I just snorted. Sorry.
So here's the thing with let's just throw this out there real quick with the N-word. Okay. So when a black person typically says, first off, I'm going to preface it this way. I'm going to say this. Nobody should be saying it. Okay, it's a dirty word. It shouldn't be said. It's just like any other curse word.
Is it a dirty word in the black community too?
It depends on how it's used. Okay.
I guess I don't get it. I don't.
Right. So it's context. It's context. Okay. So a white person saying it in any context is not good. Okay.
Okay.
Because your ancestors used it for so many years in a degrading way. It's something. So when you say it, the first thing a black person thinks is that you're trying to degrade them. Okay.
And why is that? Who's teaching you that?
That word has been used to degrade people of color for many years.
But when you say it to another person of color, it's not degrading.
Let me explain why. Okay. So the theory is that when a black person says it to another black person, sometimes it's a term of endearment. So, hey, my N, what's going on, brother? You know, that type of thing.
Okay.
You know, so it's a term of endearment.
So if I said it to you that way, in that tone,
that's not a term of endearment. As a white person, because of the history of the way white people have used that word, it doesn't come off as a term of endearment. I don't care how close you are to a black person. So even there's a lot of white people that says, "Oh, I got a black card." No, you don't. You don't have a black card. Okay. Here's the deal. The word shouldn't be said at all by black people, by white people, or anybody, because it's a dirty word. It just shouldn't be said. Okay. But to bring it into context, or to help you understand why black people feel that it's okay for us to use it, whereas it's not okay for white people to use it, is because white people have used it for so many years as a degrading comment towards black people, whereas black people have used the word to sometimes in a term of endearment, okay, or saying, "Hey, what's up?" That kind of a deal. Have we used it in a degrading way as well? Absolutely. Absolutely. It flies off the tongue of a lot of African Americans all the time, or black people. Here's the thing. I'm not from Africa, so I call myself black. So anyway, so it flies off the tongue of black people all the time, especially when you're in a heated discussion or upset about something, so it flies off the tongue all the time, but it doesn't feel, it doesn't, and I can only speak for myself. Okay, I can't speak for all black people in the world or in the United States, and I can speak for myself. When a white person says that to me, it makes me feel as that person thinks that I'm less than who they are.
Okay.
Even if a friend says it jokingly, it makes me feel like they think they're getting one over on me. They're going to slide that in there.
So it never would be a term of endearment with any person. If an Asian person said that to you, would it be a term of? And
that's funny you say that, because yes, if an Asian person or a Mexican person or anybody of color would say that to me, it would not elicit the same feelings and or response.
Because of things that our ancestors did that I'm not even a part of.
It's not just your ancestors, okay? There's been times that white people have used that towards me in a heated argument, or they were upset at me about something. Where do you think that came from? Like that.
Do you think? I mean, because not every white person has grown up or been in a community where there were black people that like former slaves or whatever, or that community. It's
taught.
Let me rephrase this. How much of all of this do you think is being influenced by our media?
No, I think a lot of it is being influenced from parents or grandparents or things of that nature. Okay, I don't believe, and this is again, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, but this is again my opinion. Okay. I don't believe racism is as big as they say it is in the United States. I think that the media is blowing it up. I think that politicians are blowing it up. I think that in general, there's a lot of black people and a lot of white people who just want to earn a living
and get along,
take care of their families, and say hello neighbor every morning, and go to work and just do what they need to do to make a living and create wealth for their family. So that's my opinion of 70% of the people in the United States. I think that's why you and I are here.
Yes, we are.
Difference between classism and racism. So classism is more financial. Racism is more, about what you look like. So, and if we want to talk about classism, we can get into that discussion as well. But we're talking about racism.
Right.
There's a lot of white men out there who are feeling like, oh my God, people are attacking me. You know what? Here's the thing. White people got it good. Okay, and
you say that a lot, but I don't think every white person will agree with you.
If a white person in America has not made it, it's because they didn't want to. Okay, because they've had every advantage in the world to be able to make. Really, even the same
white kid that grew up in the ghetto you grew up in.
Any white person in America that has not gotten their 40 acres and a mule is because they didn't want to. Not because they were oppressed, not because they were redlined, not because they were put in a box and told that they can't leave out of this box. Okay. It has. Okay. So let me explain to you this way. A white person that grew up in the ghetto could leave the ghetto and go to any affluent white neighborhood and live there if they chose to, or if they had the means to, and not be ostracized for doing so. A black man could not have gone from the ghetto over to the white neighborhood and lived there and made it for himself in those times of redlining. It couldn't have been done.
But the redlining is illegal now.
Any white person that did not make it did not want it.
Okay. And saying that, once we got past the 60s, and now we have affirmative action in the 80s and the 90s. Okay.
I just hit myself in the face.
Sorry, I'm laughing. Oh my God, I totally forgot what I was saying now.
Great, we have affirmative action.
Oh yeah, we have affirmative action. We definitely have people, like, I know quite a few black people that have decent jobs, and don't seem to be feeling, maybe they feel like they could have been a little further, but they're definitely not still in the ghetto.
And that's the thing. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So the point I'm trying to get across is that white people need to stop getting offended by the fact that their ancestors screwed us over. And black people need to stop acting like the damn victims. Okay?
Exactly.
Did these things happen?
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, they happen. But now,
there's nothing we can do about it.
That's a lie. Now,
we can't change the past.
I agreed.
Okay,
we cannot change the past. So we're here today. These things have happened. Okay, there are still situations on the books, where even in Chicago right now there are deeds that say that black person can't buy this house. Now, do they adhere to that? No. However, it's still there. It's still written there. Okay. So the question is, black people, stop acting like the damn victim, okay? Because you don't have to be the victim anymore. White people, stop getting damn offended by the fact that your ancestors fucked us over. And now, what are we going to do about it today?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
I exactly see what you're saying.
And that's the point that I'm trying to drive home. I'm not trying to be offensive to any white person out there at all. I'm saying that
and I'm not trying to be offensive to black people either, but
no, I know you're not.
We need to figure out a way to, and I don't want to say get over it because that sounds offensive.
That is extremely offensive.
But it's not
find a way through.
Find a way through. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It happened. Things today are still there are certain laws today that are still inherently racist. There are certain situations in the courts, in the schools, that are still inherently racist. Not at the fault of the white people today. and not as black people being victims. So how do we come together and recognize that these things are real and stop getting in our feelings about it?
We won't,
and
because
do something about it.
Because the people in power, the media that they control, are constantly going to drill that drama into us, because we aren't supposed to get along, because that creates the division and that creates ratings. And,
but we're here. We're getting along, and we know, or we feel that there are at the very least 70% of Americans that feel the same way that we do.
That you and I do.
Correct. We just sat here and had a hard conversation. Mm-hmm. It got a little bit heated. You know, we got a little bit offended.
Right.
But we still love each other. And we're still friends.
I'm going to try not to kick your ass. But okay.
You're going to get me in the parking lot. and it's dark out there, too. So.
You know, you never know where I'm going to jump out of. But
I'm just going to say this on the air: if I get hit by a car tonight, well, we know.
Oh, all right. Now I'm going to have to bring my personal security over to make sure this guy doesn't die on his way home. Just kidding.
It wasn't me. Shady.
There's a lot of layers to this onion here.
Well, it's definitely not black and white. I mean,
no pun intended.
No pun intended.
Oh boy, should I do it?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll do it.
I like it.
Yeah, there are a lot of gray areas, and we're going to come into a lot of gray areas. Everything from critical race theory, and so because it's a theory,
right?
First of all, so is a theory in fact?
It is fact. It is fact that black people were enslaved. It is fact that there were laws on the books that are inherently racist. That the school systems are inherently racist. Mm-hmm. And let me explain that. Okay, so you have the school systems in the inner city. You have 45 kids to a classroom. You know. And whereas in the white communities, you know, the suburbs, you have 20 kids to a classroom. Okay, so how are 45 kids supposed to learn when, you know, the same thing that 20 kids are going to learn? And then the books.
So then why are
money?
But the money is
like
going there, supposedly.
And you're right. Yeah, the money is supposedly going there. And they have the worst teachers. No offense against your teachers. I know you're probably trying to do a good job, but they don't have, how do I say this so that I don't offend teachers?
Okay, here's a little asterisk that needs to be at the bottom of every one of our shows. We are going to offend somebody. If you are offended by our show, then
you're probably on the 15%.
Yes, for sure. The secret formula.
The show's probably not for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have teachers in the inner city who are some of them are not even qualified to be there, that are trying to that are teaching children in the inner city. And that's, you know, here's the thing. The money is supposed to be there. We've thrown more money at that situation, and it's not getting to the kids.
Right. Well, and that's exactly, and that's why the last show, you guys should catch this. You don't need to get caught up, but it's a good show. The last show we were talking about reparations and how reparations. Okay, I understand how there is a backlog, so to speak, of progress for the black community because of slavery and, you know, Jim Crow laws and things like that. But in the same token, you can't, we can't just, we have to talk about it. We have to be able to have the conversation, the hard conversations, and we need to be able to not worry about offending each other. Otherwise, we're never going to talk about it. Like if you and I were worried about offending each other.
Forget about it.
Oh, good Lord.
We would never have this. We wouldn't even be friends.
Probably. Right. Hey, fucker, how are you doing?
Because neither one of us know how to bite our tongue.
Not good at it. Not good at it at all. Anyway, I had a point to that, but we were talking about reparations and how, you know, there's an argument out there about how
how to spend the money, or how to actually provide reparations.
Like, you said, hey, I want my 40 acres and a mule, but that's great. But if you don't know how to cultivate 40 acres or feed a mule because you weren't raised that way, then you're not being set up for success.
Correct.
So we've been collectively, as a community in the United States of America, we have a lot of programs, a lot of taxes that are going to the inner cities, like Milwaukee School District, supposedly. We have, we're putting black people in power in those areas. You have black mayors and, black superintendents of schools and things, and it's still not happening. So and in my opinion, the problem is generational because of what you learn from both the black side and the white side, whether or not I'm racist or my attitude towards people of color and your attitude towards white people.
Right. Well, I was taught, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I was taught all my life that I'm going to have to work twice as hard as any white person to get a half of what white people have gotten.
Right.
That's what was taught to me from
That's what was
on.
taught to me as a woman, that I'm going to have to work twice as hard as any man in order to get what I want.
Right.
So you know what I did? I fucking buckled down and did it. But I know it's a different situation, but what I'm saying is with the reparations and things, we can't just keep throwing money at this problem. We need to come together first. We need to realize that if at least 70% of us don't come together and not forget about the past, but come into, what is the word I'm trying to use?
Cohesiveness, agreement
with the fact that we disagree or that things are not the way they should be. Not that we disagree, but that if we could just, because no matter what, your community is not going to totally get their way. Our community is not going to totally get their way. That's not what compromise is. And you don't take over you don't win a race on compromise. And I think that's what a lot of people are trying. They're like, well, they're trying to win the race and we're trying to be equal. Like, we're trying to bring you in the race with us, or like bring you to the finish line with us. And you're like, oh, hell no, I need to have more than you.
And see, that's not the way. I understand that what you're getting at, but that's not the way. In my opinion, that's not the way the black community sees this, okay? Because I'm in a lot of, black Facebook groups and things of that nature, and I hear or read a lot of things what a lot of black Republicans say, and they're saying the same thing that I'm saying, that we need to get over the fact that, first off, we need to not be victims, because we're not. In this day and age, we're not victims anymore. Okay. Have we been in the past? Our ancestors? Yes.
Right.
But in this day and age, we're not victims anymore. And then at the same time, white people need to realize that, okay, yep, this is an embarrassing situation that our ancestors put us in. Now that we've had that conversation, now that we courageously got through that hard conversation, now it's time to say, okay, what do we do about it? You don't need to be, not you specifically, but white people in general don't need to feel guilty about what their ancestors did. And black people don't need to feel like the victims of what white people did in the past. What we need to do today is say, okay, what are we going to collectively do about it now? The first thing, in my opinion, that we need to do is get together and get these career politicians and billionaires out of office, okay? Because although I like Trump's policies, Trump is not for me. I'm talking about the layperson,
right?
Okay, you.
Right.
Did his policies help us generate a little bit of capital, and it did decrease some taxes and stuff like? Did it help us a little bit? Yeah.
Who's us? All of us? Or
no, the general population.
Oh, gotcha.
The general population. I'm not talking about black people or white people, and I'm talking about the general. Yes. And are our taxes going up now, and this, that, and the other? Here's the thing. They don't care.
No, they don't care.
I don't care if it's a career politician. I don't care if it's a billionaire. They do not care about the lay people. Because if they did, the rich wouldn't continue to be getting richer while the poor is continuing to get poorer. And the middle class, where a lot of people are a paycheck away from being poor, are not making the head ground that they should be making, or that they had been making in the past. So we need to get together collectively.
But I think that's on a bell curve, though, too. There are people out there that don't give a shit. They're like, I'm going to live on $20,000 a year if I can sit around and play, not Pokemon, whatever, some video game. Yeah.
We can tell you play a lot of video games.
God.
You spend a lot of
Fortnite.
There you go.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time in front of the screen, don't you?
Oh my God. I don't even have furniture in my living room right now. We're going to be sitting on lawn chairs to watch TV. Anyway, that's a different story. But so once we can come together and realize that if we don't get 50-50 doesn't work in the political realm. We've saw, Biden won by 0.6 or something like that? I don't even know. And they cheat. You and I both know they cheat. I don't care what side they're coming from. They cheat.
That's for another show.
Right. I don't know. We haven't decided what to call that one.
The one that gets our channel shut down?
No, that's the show where we need to invite people in on, because you and I agree on that.
Oh, yeah.
So we need to invite somebody that doesn't agree.
Right.
Somebody that's going to still love us at the end.
Oh, God, that's hard.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So, like I said, reparations are probably something needs to be done, but we can't keep, like you said, keep playing the victim, because they're just using this against us in order to take this money. Because the leaders of these states and stuff that are asking for reparations and money, and we need these bills passed for $10 million. What was it, Atlanta or somebody? We got $10 million. We're going to They don't care about. They're not doing that for the individual. They're doing that to look good, to get to be a political favorite.
Political capital.
And the people that are doling that money out are making mega bucks.
Oh, yeah.
Mega bucks doing it. And it's bullshit. Until we get past, see past the little matrix of lies and deceit and divisiveness that they're spewing at us through our TVs, our radios, and everything else.
Right.
This isn't going to work. This isn't going to work.
Well, we're going to end up like China.
We are going to end up like China, even worse.
Did you hear about the new law that China put in place?
No, I didn't.
The kids in China can only play an hour of video game a week.
Really?
On the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything is on the internet, so they have facial recognition and stuff like that to see how long they've been on there.
Oh, so that's
been on the game.
Yeah. Because
so that's how we're going to end up.
Us all in the United States
if we keep allowing these people to do it. Yeah, that's how we're going to end up.
We are.
And of course now we're going to be called conspiracy theorists. That's the best way to shut down freedom of speech, is to call the person that's saying it a conspiracy theorist.
I've been called a racist.
Yep.
I've been called a conspiracy theorist for years. Fuck you all that tell me that, because at some point conspiracy theory will become conspiracy reality, and I'll have my 5 cases of water and toilet paper in my bomb shelter, and you all will be fucked.
I don't know how long 5 cases of water is going to last.
Party at Amy's.
Woo woo! Bring the vodka. Got the water. Wow. Oh, I'm sorry. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just we've got to find a way to get around that whole the institution of divisiveness and the. I mean, yes, there are black people that don't like white people, and white people that don't like black people, and black people that don't like to work with their people. You know, there's so much going on, so many different dynamics.
Forget about it.
But if you don't just say, all right, everybody shut the fuck up, this is the way it's going to have to work, at least not for now, we're going to have to cohesively try to get through this, because until we can do that, and as a 70% actually start running things on our own, not on our own, but
yeah, no doubt.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As part of representing the 70%.
Until the 70% can be heard, until we can squash
the silent majority.
Until we can squash the 15 on either side.
Yeah, the 30% of radicals that just
right, and have the 70% voice be heard. We're going to end up in the same boat. See, in my opinion, this is what's happening. So you have the 15% on either side out there yelling and screaming. And then you got the 70% that's sitting in the middle going to work every day.
Yeah.
You know?
And like, why can't we just freaking get along?
Going to work, trying to take care of their families. They're too busy to be out in the street yelling and screaming.
Right.
You know?
But the yellers and screamers are the ones that get all the attention and make it sound like all this drama going on.
Right.
The only drama that's going on is in our political system with people that are raping us, literally, of all the money and all of the dignity and all of the freedoms that we have right now in this country. And we are going to be like China.
Right.
Not too long. China, Russia, Greece, whatever.
And then white people are not going to worry about or have to worry about their ancestors enslaving us, because they're going to be enslaved with us.
Exactly my point. That is why this started, because we can't if we keep going on the way we are, we're all screwed.
Right.
It's not going to matter, black, white. It's not going to matter what happened in 1960. It's not going to matter what happened in 1865 or before.
Yep.
We are already enslaved by these people, by the amount of taxes that we have to pay. I mean, Jesus, didn't we like jump in a river or lake or something about some tea at one point because of taxation?
And now we're back there.
And we're back there times 100. Yeah. And we're just sitting around going, oh, okay, well, as long as I get my iPhone and my stimulus check, I'm good. You know, and that's all people. That just
no, that's on both. That's all in the middle and both sides and all in the middle. So, so if you like what you're hearing, you're gonna have to hit like, share, and comment
and subscribe.
Yeah, and we'd definitely like to hear from our listeners. To a couple of things we'd like to hear from. First off, do you believe that there's 70% in the United States that feel the same way? Secondly, what do you think about the show? And third, what are your comments based on what we've actually discussed here today?
Yes, we'd love to hear from you.
But only if you want to call in and have a serious discussion. If you're going to call in yelling and screaming, cursing, calling names, don't bother, because guess what? We're going to hang up on you.
Well, Nate, the producer, will send us guys.
There you go.
I'll do my best to do my duty to Michael and Amy and my country.
I'm Mike Sewell.
I'm Amy Alexander.
Thanks for subscribing. We'll talk to you next week.
Hang on a second. Thanks for listening to the 70%. See you next week.